Hello lads, lassies, and those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today I'm going to be talking about what would have happened if the Tuffles won the war. In case you are unfamiliar with what the Tuffles are, they are the people that lived on planet Vegeta before it was planet Vegeta. The Saiyans originally lived on a planet called Planet Plant. But after that planet got too small for them to live on, as in their numbers grew to an extent where the planet just wasn't of suitable size, they moved to a different planet, Planet Vegeta. But the Saiyan King wasn't named after the planet, instead the other way around. King Vegeta named the new Saiyan homeworld after himself, the current ruler over the Saiyan race. Although this planet wasn't exactly uninhabited when they arrived. Instead, there were people living there occupying that space. These were the Tuffles, a highly advanced alien species that had incredible military might thanks to their enhanced weaponry, which allowed them to keep up with the Saiyans for a good long while. But at the end of the day, the Saiyans overwhelmed them and claimed Planet Vegeta for themselves. Although what if things went differently? What if the Tuffles won the war and drove the Saiyans to extinction like the Saiyans had done to them originally? This is what we're talking about today. I'm not going to lie, at the beginning here we're going to have a pretty slow burn, as King Vegeta was the person to name the planet, meaning at most we only trek back 2 or 3 generations to get to the beginning of this story. But realistically, King Vegeta III was the one to actually lead the war against the Tuffles, and that means that Prince Vegeta was either going to be soon or already born at the time of the Tuffle War ending. Now, seeing as all we're changing is which side wins the war, we're going to need to actually make some leaps in terms of logic to actually have this all happen. The Tuffles are not canon, and therefore we're going to have to assume a few things to make them exist in the Dragon Ball universe, as well as fit into what we know as canon. So, to just throw something out there, this would mean that the Tuffles were the people under the control of King Cold before the Saiyans. Therefore, King Cold, seeing the Tuffles have disappeared, he would then enlist the people that have replaced the Tuffles, that being the Saiyans, into his army to replace, well, the people they've already replaced. But for obvious reasons, that would never happen here. So instead, King Cold just continues ruling over the Tuffle Empire and supplying them with whatever they need. Eventually, Frieza would actually step into his father's role and then introduce himself to the Tuffles, giving them scouters and different technology and the like. Although I do assume that the Tuffles are the people who actually made, or at least advanced, most of the Frieza Force technology to what we see in Dragon Ball Z originally. Funnily enough, for a good long while, the biggest change to this story is actually the fact that the Frieza Force would have much better equipment, stronger weapons, better sensory technology, as well as just overall better tech. So there isn't really much going on in the universe. The Tuffles would never try and act out against Frieza, as they know that's just not a good idea, and they have no reason to actually stop. For all we know, they actually probably enjoyed their spot in Frieza's empire, supplying them with tech and getting resources to continue their existence as well as their research. After years of further development, Frieza would realize his power isn't all that menacing in comparison to the weapons the Tuffles are cooking up. He would first actually come upon this fact as an assassin had broken into his private chambers one night and made an attempt on his life using a Tuffle ray gun. Even after getting up and transforming into his second form, he still wasn't strong enough to actually withstand the attacks. He had to resort to using his final form just to survive, and after that he was finally able to actually shoot a death beam through the armor that the assassin was wearing. It was actually difficult for him to get out of that situation. You might expect Frieza to try and kill off all the Tuffles at this point, but honestly I don't think he would. Although he would have been in a more vulnerable situation than the original, it's not like he can just call all of the Tuffles to one planet and kill them that way. Instead, he would have to recall all of the weaponry that the Tuffles had created in the last year or so, and then have them destroyed. But that might not even be possible, and he would still have to kill off all of the Tuffles. Plus, it would also mean that he cannot actually progress any more technologically, just because his base power is too subpar in comparison to the technology that the Tuffles have achieved. So he has two options. Either he can have the Tuffles create weapons specifically for him, that way he can still have an edge and be stronger than everybody else, but that would mean that the Tuffles would have access to weaponry that would be equal to what Frieza would have. So that really wouldn't work. He only has one option as far as I see it. He has to train, and as degrading as it is, it really is his only option, not only to continue to rule over his empire with an iron fist, but also continue to stay alive. So reluctantly, Frieza would go to planets that are basically worth nothing to him, and train to his heart's content. After a few years of intense training, he has become strong enough to where he believes nobody really stands a chance against him, although he would still continue doing passive training for the next 20 to 30 years, until eventually Beerus wakes up. And although Beerus might want to go take out Frieza like he did originally, the guy was pretty annoying, he would realize that because of the Frieza Force, Universe 7's mortal level has increased exponentially. The Frieza Force on its own was nothing really, but they did continue to sort of govern all of the planets and keep them in order. And the Tuffles have increased the technological side of the universe centuries, possibly even millennia beyond what it was originally. And Frieza himself is so incredibly powerful that there isn't really any wars, because if any wars were to break out, Frieza would stop them because they aren't exactly beneficial to his cause. All of this put together means that Universe 7 is actually more advanced than any of the other universes, and therefore, Beerus doesn't exactly feel like taking Frieza out just yet. He kind of likes being able to hold it above all of the other gods of destruction, that his universe is more well kept than theirs. Plus, it means that Zeno probably won't erase him or his universe anytime soon, and that's reassuring. Now all of this is all well and good, but Beerus would still have his premonition about the Super Saiyan God, and therefore would still want to find it. He doesn't exactly know what a Saiyan is. Yeah, sure, he's the god of his universe, but like, he doesn't know all of the races that exist in it. That would take far too long to learn. So he asks Whis, who does know every single race in the universe, and would say that the Saiyans were brought to extinction in a war against the Tuffles. And Beerus, now a bit peeved, would want to destroy all of the Tuffles for getting rid of his chance to fight against this Super Saiyan God thing. Although Whis would suggest against this, as currently Frieza has the Tuffles pretty high up in his army, and attacking something that Frieza holds dear is not a good idea. Beerus would ask what Whis means by this, and then it would hit him. Frieza is stronger than him now. This is worrying because it means that Beerus really can't do anything in his own universe anymore. Because the second he pops his head out, Frieza's going to be right there to take him out. Because, well, Beerus didn't exactly treat Frieza too nicely in their earlier years. Although Whis would say the idea of having a Super Saiyan God isn't entirely out of the question, as there is a Saiyan, in fact, two, currently on Kaio-sama's planet, or King Kai's world, in the afterlife, training, and they have been for many, many years. Ever since they first died in the Tuffle War, they have been getting stronger, that way they could single-handedly take back the honor of the Saiyan race. Beerus is excited at this, not only because it means he could get a Super Saiyan God, but also a rival that could not only push him, but also get strong enough to help him take out Frieza and reclaim his spot at top of the food chain. Once arriving on King Kai's planet, Beerus would be met with Bardock and King Vegeta, people who escaped Hell and were given free reign to train on King Kai's planet because, well, King Yemma didn't really have the resources to contain them and didn't really feel like giving them their own personal hell, seeing as they weren't too bad. Granted, they were still planet-conquering monsters, but their intentions weren't all bad. The Tuffles were helping Frieza and kind of turning Universe 7 into a hellhole. So, if King Vegeta and Bardock actually get strong enough to defeat Frieza and his forces, then yeah, sure. King Yemma will allow them to train with King Kai, as well as go back to life for a day with the assistance of Baba. But they wouldn't just stop at King Kai's training, as King Vegeta and Bardock would learn everything there is to know from King Kai, as well as instant transmission, something the deity does know. They would then use this to work their way up the totem pole, training with all of the greatest masters in the afterlife, eventually working their way up to Kaioshin himself, learning all of the techniques that the Supreme Kai would know, as well as training with the Z-Sword, eventually breaking it and then unlocking the Elder Kai. Both King Vegeta and Bardock would get the ultimate form, as well as mixing it with their Super Saiyan transformations. They have become basically unstoppable in the last 40 or so years. Well, unstoppable to a certain degree, as with Ultimate combined with Super Saiyan 3 as well as their heightened base powers, they would be up to around the same level as Super Saiyan God Goku. Although, they would also be able to stack Kaioken on top of this, up to times 50, which would then basically give them a power equivalent to Super Saiyan Blue Goku if he was able to achieve the transformation in the Battle of Gods movie. This showing is of course very impressive. Beerus has now found two people who are able to rival godly powers while not actually having any God Ki inside of them. So he would then take both Bardock and King Vegeta to his planet and have them train under Whis. And while they're doing that, he would also be training under Whis, getting even stronger in the process, while also sparring with a newly Super Saiyan God, Bardock, and King Vegeta, which would be certainly a sight to behold. With their basically unlimited stamina from being dead, they would be able to train night and day, all the time. Even when Beerus can't, they are getting stronger. After only 3 years, while only having Super Saiyan Blue, they would be able to surpass what Goku and Vegeta are at currently in the manga with their Beyond Saiyan forms. This would be incredibly impressive, and the reason for it is because Beerus would actually show them his true power, something Goku and Vegeta have never seen, and therefore Bardock and King Vegeta have a goalpost to strive for where Goku and Vegeta didn't. Now, with this incredible power, they would find different ways to evolve. King Vegeta would choose to go down more divine routes, while Bardock chooses to stick with his more Saiyan powers, like Super Saiyan Blue. Although he would continue improving that, he would also mix it with different forms, such as Ultimate and Kaioken, then having Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Kaioken and the Ultimate form stacked on top of that. Well, not only is it an incredibly long name, but it would also be insanely powerful, even stronger than what Black Frieza is in the original manga. Although he is still relatively weak in comparison to the Frieza we have in this What If, whereas Frieza in the original trained for 10 years intensely to get to the Black Frieza form, the Frieza in this What If only trained for about 7 years as intensely, before then having around 30 years where he only did passive training. Don't get me wrong, those 3 intense years of painstaking training inside of the Room of Spirit and Time definitely helped Frieza achieve his black form, but I think 30 extra years kind of outweighs the amount of difficulty of the training. King Vegeta would be at the same level as his rival. An important thing to keep in mind here is this is not Goku and Vegeta. This is their fathers, who are very different people. Really, I only chose Bardock and King Vegeta because it obviously is supposed to represent what Goku and Vegeta were in the original, although I am still keeping their personalities intact. King Vegeta sees himself as above Bardock and would train to make sure he can still represent that, although Bardock, on the other hand, really doesn't care how anyone sees him and just trains to get stronger. Therefore meaning this dynamic is a bit different. King Vegeta always wants to make sure he has this lead ahead of Bardock, while Bardock lets him think he does, and would continue at basically the same pace as his rival. They are rivals, and they are equally powered as such, and King Vegeta would have a mix of divine powers, mostly leaning into Ultra Ego, but also using the ultimate form alongside that. Now with Beerus confident that he can take down Frieza with these two Saiyans' help, Beerus would have been training under Whis and probably mastered Ultra Instinct by this point. The three of them would head out, eventually cornering Frieza in his own ship, where he begins to laugh. The Cat God was actually brave enough to finally show his face, but more so than that, he brought two monkeys by his side. How cute. Although Beerus isn't laughing. Instead, he would power up into Ultra Instinct while he would snap his fingers, and then Bardock and King Vegeta would power up into their own incredible forms. Frieza is dumbstruck. They do certainly look strong, but he is still confident that he can take them down, and he would power up into his black form. Once everyone starts throwing mitts, this would actually be a relatively even fight. The three warriors on the god side are actually able to put up a pretty good fight against Frieza, and Frieza is still able to retaliate as his black form is very, very strong. But I'm still definitely going to have to give Beerus and the two Saiyans the win here, as if Frieza were actually able to put them in a near-death state, Whis could just come over and basically revive them, and bring them back up to full health, as well as giving them full stamina. So, Frieza never really stood a chance in that front. He would have to kill them fast enough where Whis can't heal them, and he doesn't have that big of a power lead. So, yeah, Frieza would be killed, and Beerus would continue ruling over Universe 7 with an iron fist, much like how Frieza was. Except, this Universe 7 is actually the highest in terms of mortal levels for all of the universes, and would continue to grow and prosper. As for Bardock and King Vegeta, they would get their revenge on the Tuffles, but not by going and killing all of them, but rather by outliving them, watching them eventually create technology so powerful it kills them all. Then, the two of them would step in to actually clean up their mess. At the end of the day, they were too smart for their own good, and that was their reckoning. It's kind of poetic, actually. And although I could probably write something that's at least pretty good for a story to come after this, really, the Tuffles story has ended, and anything further would be complete fanfiction. And for that reason, the story is going to end here. I know I didn't really cover anything with the likes of Majin Buu or Earth as a whole, but that doesn't really matter. In the grand scheme of things, they'd be taken out with relative ease, and there's no point of actually covering them. I know I hinted at a hypothetical baby Frieza in the thumbnail for this What If, but honestly, I don't see them really trying anything like that. They would realize Frieza is far too powerful, and if they were to make an attempt on his life like that, well, it wouldn't exactly end well for them if they fail. So they would just choose not to try anything like that. They have rather cushy lives, as they are a vital part of the Frieza Force Empire. So any threats that would come about that weren't Black Frieza level would be taken out with relative ease, and the Tuffles wouldn't try anything. So the story is relatively peaceful up until Beerus wakes up and decides he wants his spot back. And that's where we're going to be ending things for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, as I certainly enjoyed making it. And if you could please like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit the notification bell, that way you're notified whenever I release any new videos, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you all so very much for watching. This is, always has been, and always will be the Irishman. Talk to you later. Bye.